Are you ready for an unfair advantage? It's time to stop guessing and start dominating your fantasy league. This is the Deep Roto 2025 season preview. We've harnessed the world's most powerful AI to bring you exclusive insights and data-driven strategies you won't find anywhere else. Your championship fantasy football season starts here. Now, here are your hosts, Chip, Nancy, and Doc.
This is where we take, a whole stack of the latest articles, research, expert takes, and really boil it all down for you. We're aiming for the most crucial, fascinating, and actionable insights. And it's all tailored specifically for your 2025 fantasy draft strategy. Today, we are plunging headfirst into fantasy football draft prep for this season. It's looking pretty unpredictable, actually.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to arm you with everything you need, especially when it comes to wide receivers. We've pulled stuff from a recent YouTube breakdown on receivers and a big fantasy football preview article. So yeah, we're going to make sure you're well informed, really focusing on some surprising facts, advanced metrics, and all the things that make this position so interesting for the draft this year.
Okay, let's dive right in then. This dynamic landscape. 2025 is already looking like one of the most volatile seasons we've seen in a while. You've got rookie phenoms coming in, blockbuster trades, shaking things up, guys coming back from major injuries. It's really changing the rankings.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a wild ride already.
It really is. And, when you look at the consensus top guy, you still got Patrick Mahomes there at QB. He's number one, sure, but maybe facing more competition than ever for that spot because CJ Stroud in Houston, after that explosive 2024, they're saying he's got rocket fuel in his arm, and now he's got two new weapons, too. He could genuinely push Mahomes for that top spot. It's a real shift.
And what about running back? Bijan Robinson, he's actually dethroned Christian McCaffrey as the RB1 in a lot of rankings. Had, 1,800 scrimmage yards last year. Incredible. McCaffrey's obviously still elite, no question. And then receivers, Tyreek Hill's being called a cheat code, especially in PPR, and Justin Jefferson back healthy for the Vikings. The advice is just smash that draft button if you get a shot at him. So yeah, you can see why it feels so fluid.
Definitely. And this unpredictability, it's leading to some pretty big strategic shifts. We're seeing folks say the zero RB strategy, well, it's kind of dying, where you punt on running backs early to load up elsewhere. With the elite running backs being so scarce now, that's just getting super risky. It pushes their value even higher. Yeah. Oh, when you absolutely want to protect those guys, if you draft them early, handcuffing your stars is crucial. Like if you get McCaffrey, you better grab Elijah Mitchell too. One injury can just torpedo your season, right?
Now, you mentioned something really interesting earlier about wide receiver depth, specifically rounds 3 through 5. You said that we're projected to be the deepest we've seen since, 2014. How much does that change things? How should you approach your draft board knowing that?
Oh, it's huge. That depth, it fundamentally changes how you value positions. It tells you that you don't necessarily have to force a wide receiver pick early on. If a top running back, say, falls into your lap in the first or second round, you can probably take him, knowing there's going to be really good receiver talent still available in those middle rounds.
Okay, so we've kind of set the stage, the volatility, the running back scarcity, but let's pivot now. Really focus on the position that's dominating all the talk, wide receivers. There are some fascinating strategic angles here, and it apparently starts with something pretty surprising, their age.
Yeah, it's actually quite remarkable when you break it down. There's this interesting age dynamic. If you look at first-round running backs, their average age is around 26, and you've got three key guys who are 28 or older. That's Barkley, McCaffrey, Henry. Now compare that to first-round wide receivers, their average age, only 25, and not a single one of them is over 26.
Wow, that's quite a gap.
It is,
really
yeah.
Flips the old script, doesn't it? Usually you think of RBs peaking earlier. So what are the big takeaways from this age thing?
Well, what the data seems to be screaming is, if you're chasing production and trying to minimize injury risk with those crucial early picks, wide receivers offer a pretty clear youth advantage and potentially a higher ceiling, too. It often means more bang for your buck on draft day. You're getting more points, potentially more longevity with those top wideouts. Like, look at the last 3-4 seasons. 27 first-round running backs averaged, 17.2 PPR points per game. The 17 first-round receivers, they averaged a higher 19 PPR points per game.
19, okay? And this whole age discussion apparently even sparked this kind of fun idea, an all 29 or older team challenge. Have you ever messed around with that, like leaning into veteran value?
Not a full team, no. But I've definitely, tried to snag those older vets later in drafts for value. It's a fun thought experiment, though, isn't it? Imagine trying to build around guys like Aaron Rodgers, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Joe Mixon, Mike Evans, Davante Adams. It shows there's still value there for sure. But it also really highlights that youth movement at the very, very top of the receiver board right now.
So given all this, what's the sort of framework people are using for receivers this year? I've heard this phrase, elite top 9, then blobs. Can you break that down? And does your view line up with that?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, and it definitely shapes strategy. The elite top 9, then blobs idea, it basically means there's a pretty clear top tier, like 8 or 9 guys who just stand out. My view, yeah, it's pretty similar. I see about 8 truly elite guys. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, Malik Nabers, Brian Thomas Jr., Nico Collins, guys like that. Getting one of them feels almost necessary if you want that consistent week-winning production.
Okay, elite 8 or 9, and then the blob. What that mean for you when you're actually building your roster?
Right, the blob. So after those top guys, you hit this, blob, this big group of pretty usable receivers. It seems to start around pick 17, maybe, and it stretches pretty deep, like down to pick 38, maybe even a bit further. We're talking maybe 40 guys who could be decent starters in a typical 2-receiver league. That depth is what really frees you up. You can go grab that running back early because you can find solid WR value later on. And this depth, it really lends itself to what some people call the hero wide receiver approach.
Hero wide receiver.
Yeah.
Okay, unpack that one for us.
Sure. So the idea is you invest one of your very early picks, maybe first or second round, on one of those truly elite hero wideouts. Lock in those guaranteed points. And then you leverage that mid-round depth we talked about. You fill out your other receiver spots later, grabbing guys from that blob. It lets you maybe address running back or tight end in rounds 3, 4, 5, knowing you already have your WR1 anchor locked down. Then you just scoop up those high upside guys from the blob later.
Okay, let's put this into practice maybe. Quick case study. Drake London. He seems like a guy who could fit into this deep receiver landscape discussion. He finished as the WR14 per game in full PPR last year. And just a reminder, PPR means points per reception, adds value to guys who catch a lot of passes. So WR14 is pretty good. But you mentioned the deeper metrics tell a bit of a different story. Like the Falcons had tons of passing yards. 7th most, actually, over 4,200 yards. But only 21 passing TDs. That seems off.
Yeah, that efficiency gap is definitely something to note, and context is key here too, right? Kirk Cousins got hurt, that shoulder injury around week 9. London played maybe 3 or 4 games after that happened, which surely impacted his numbers down the stretch. Plus, you got to remember 2 of the guys ranked just ahead of him last year were 32 years old. Evans and Adams, another guy, was on the PP list. So yeah, it suggests there's a real path for London to climb the rankings if things break right, especially if he gets consistent, healthy QB play this year.
Makes sense. Okay, let's dig into another interesting comparison that pops up. Nico Collins versus A.J. Brown. This one seems all about efficiency versus opportunity, maybe. For Collins, the argument is really strong on efficiency. His yards per route run and yards per target were elite last year, like up there with Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
And just quickly, yards per route run shows how good a receiver is every time he runs a route, even if he doesn't get the ball. It's a great indicator of talent, separation. Collins also had, a 29% target share early last season before he got hurt. And the Texans threw the ball a lot, 570 pass attempts versus Philly's 448. That's a massive difference in volume.
That volume difference is absolutely critical because for A.J. Brown, look, the talent is undeniable, right? But the Eagles offense is just so run heavy. They were 21st, 23rd, even 32nd in pass attempts the last few years. That absolutely caps his ceiling. He finished as WR13 per game last year, and a lot of that is just down to fewer chances.
Right. So even though Nico has that injury history, never played a full season, which is a real concern, the sheer opportunity, the volume in that Houston offense, it almost feels like it trumps Brown's consistency in a run-first system. Is volume kind of the new king here? Like, the takeaway is don't just look at last year's finish, dig into the opportunity.
I think that's exactly right. Collins has the volume potential and the efficiency metrics screaming breakout. Even with the injury flag, Brown's super talented, obviously, but his team's philosophy might just hold him back from reaching that truly elite tier again.
Okay, switching gears slightly, let's talk value. Sleepers, breakouts, steals. Always fun topics. What are some sleepers catching your eye from the sources?
Yeah, a couple interesting names. Emeka Ibuka, the rookie. His ADP, average draft position, is way down in round 10. There's a thought he could start hot, especially if Chris Godwin's ankle is still bothering him and Mike Evans isn't getting any younger. Creates an opening, right? But there's definitely risk, too. Could be a slow start, maybe a JSN-like rookie year where he doesn't make a huge impact immediately. Another late-round guy is DeMarlo Douglas for the Patriots. Opportunity there in Josh McDaniels' offense. Maybe he becomes a go-to guy for Drake May late in drafts.
Okay, sleepers noted. What about breakouts? Guys predicted to really pop this year.
Well, Jamar Chase is getting buzzed for a potentially big season, maybe even a Triple Crown winner type of year to Tyjae McMillan, the rookie receiver for the Panthers. I'm hearing some really strong camp reports. Seems like there's a big opportunity for him, could push for like a top 20-ish season. They drafted him to play a big role right away. And Xavier Worthy was selected by the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round with the 28th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, which was traded to them by the Buffalo Bills. Yes, Rashee Rice is expected to play in the 2025 NFL season. While he has faced some legal issues and a potential suspension stemming from a past incident, he is expected to be available for the majority, if not all, of the season. Apparently, his short area route running has improved. Plus, he's got that game-breaking deep speed.
And for a straight-up steal, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
Seeing him mentioned, top 30 per game, 3 years running, but his ADP is like WR41 right now. Seems too low.
Yeah, Myers is definitely undervalued. And just quickly, some other camp standouts getting mentioned. Tadella McMillan again, Matthew Golden, Emeka Ibuka, Torrey Horton, Adai Mitchell. Keep those names on your radar late. They're the kind of guys who win leagues.
Always good to have those deep names. But, all right, every draft has potential pitfalls, right? Let's talk potential busts, guys maybe being overdrafted or carrying too much risk. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Seen some skepticism there, people thinking WR4 might be too high.
Yeah, there's a bit of concern. The projection is maybe more like a low-end WR1, not that locked-in top 5 guy. Worries about the Lions' offense maybe taking a step back, scoring maybe 10 fewer TDs. Plus, they lost their center, Frank Ragnow, and their OC Ben Johnson left, and maybe some touchdown regression is due for St. Brown himself. Just things to consider at that high price.
Okay, what about Terry McLaurin?
McLaren? Yeah, the hold and holdout stuff is always a worry. Plus, he had a bit of a touchdown spike last year that didn't quite match his other metrics. And the fact he hasn't been practicing consistently is a red flag. Garrett Wilson, too, worries there about just the total pass volume and accuracy in that offense, especially if Justin Fields ends up starting. He's projected for the second fewest pass attempts in the league. That really limits Wilson's upside.
Running backs.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley. First round risk.
Something so, yeah. The crowded backfield argument with Jalen Hurts possibly vulturing goal line TDs, plus Barkley's injury history. It just makes him feel too risky for some in the first round. Davante Adams, you've got the rookie QB factor, uncertain targets. He's 32 now. Maybe lost a step. It's a risk. Aaron Jones. He's 30, seems like a hard pass after round 4 for many. And Kyle Pitts, still kind of labeled fool's gold until the Falcons actually prove they'll throw to the tight end consistently.
Right, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Sounds like there's a debate there, round 4, breakout or bust.
Exactly. Big debate concerns about the Cardinals' overall offensive plan. Maybe Kyler Murray can have a bounce-back year. The Arizona Cardinals drafted a tight end in the 2024 NFL draft, selecting Tip Riemann, and they don't really have a high-volume tight end to draw coverage away, so his rookie year might be a bit more challenging than people expect, especially at that round 3 price tag.
Okay, so that's a lot on player specifics. Let's zoom out a bit, thinking beyond draft day. In-season management is huge. How does league format, like PPR versus non-PPR, change how you approach receivers?
Oh, it changes quite a bit. In full PPR, where every catch is a full point, you could seriously argue for 8 wide receivers going in the first round. It just pushes those elite guys way up because receptions are king.
And the opposite for non-PPR then.
Exactly. In half PPR and especially non-PPR receivers get pushed down the board, it becomes much more running back heavy. Early on that receiver blob we talked about, it gets even denser, kind of merges together more because individual receptions aren't worth as much. Touchdowns become way, way more valuable. So that benefits guys like, say, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, guys who find the end zone maybe more often relative to their total catches. Like Puku, people talk about his touchdown problem in PPR because he didn't score much despite all the catches. That hurts him less in non-PPR, whereas A.J. Brown, even with fewer targets, isn't penalized as much because his big plays and TDs still count heavily. That is probably a good strategy going into this year.
That makes sense. Defenses, too. It seems like they're maybe more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. With offenses being so pass happy now, it leads to more sacks, more turnovers, opportunities for big defensive scores. Defenses can genuinely win you weeks now, so targeting strong units like the Jets or the Browns, maybe with those good defensive lines, that's a smart play.
And we mentioned it before, but it's worth saying again. Handcuff your star running backs. The McCaffrey-Mitchell example is perfect. Protect your investment.
Definitely. And some other quick fire advice we saw. Draft a top kicker like Tucker seriously. They win close matchups and people often overlook them. Try to avoid putting Thursday night players in your flex spot if you can help. It keeps your options open for Sunday in case of late news. And think about trading maybe some of your depth for a star player after week 2 or 3 and watch those rookies. There is always one that explodes early in the season. Once you see how things are shaking out, consolidating talent can be a league-winning move.
Good tips and that pre-draft homework.
Yeah.
It really pays off, doesn't it? Digging into those training camp reports.
Oh, massively. Finding that backup running back who suddenly gets thrust into a starting role, or the WR3 who carves out a niche, those are the hidden gems. That's how you find league winners that nobody else saw coming.
And finally, just got to stay on top of injuries, right? Crucial. You mentioned a few key ones to monitor.
Yeah. Keep an eye on Chris Godwin's ankle, Khalil Shakir's high ankle sprain, Malik Nabers has a toe issue, Cam Scattaboo a hamstring, Tyreek Hill had something undisclosed, Rashee Rice's groin, also Maris Brown's ankle, Mason Taylor's high ankle sprain. Just got to track these things right up until draft day and honestly all season long.
Absolutely critical. Okay, let's try and wrap this deep dive up.
Sounds good. So to recap, I think the big takeaways are the incredible depth and value at wide receiver this year, especially that big blob starting around pick 17 or so. That depth gives you real strategic flexibility, makes things like the hero wide receiver approach pretty viable, especially in leagues where you start 2 receivers. We flagged some specific concerns like Detroit St. Brown maybe being a bit overvalued at wide receiver 4, and highlighted the really exciting potential in those round of 5, round 6 type receivers who could seriously outperform where you draft them.
Yeah, lots to think about. So here's something to chew on as you finalize your own draft boards. In this draft landscape, where youth and those advanced metrics are really reshaping how we value players, what single factor are you going to prioritize the most when you make those crucial wide receiver decisions this season? Is it going to be that undeniable raw talent, or is it the strategic advantage you get from offensive scheme and the players surrounding them?
Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the first of many podcasts this 2025 football season. Don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about the Deep Roto AI-powered fantasy football podcast. We'll see you next time.